Thank you so much for having me here, Anurag, and the entire team, Simran. I'll take you a little bit through what my set of experiences is, and therefore, and I'm going to talk about one very interesting brand in specific context to this problem. So I think my attention is now that of a goldfish. Therefore, if I would like to keep this conversation as interactive as possible, and therefore if you have any questions even interim, please raise your hand and ask, because that would be possibly the best use of this time. I hate one-way conversations. Just for a little background on me, I'm the marketing director for health as a portfolio at Reckitt. That's about 65% of our business in India. It has brands like Dettol, Durex, Moov, Veet, Gaviscon, Strepsils, and a bunch of long tail brands that we handle, which are basically in the space of preventive, curative health largely. I have about 20 years of experience in CPG and consulting. I was a partner with McKinsey and Company till mid last year, when I actually moved to Reckitt. And in McKinsey, I actually served a bunch of brands across industrial, CPG, auto, consumer tech, etc. So very happy to talk about experiences across without naming anyone actually. Before that, I was the CMO for Snapdeal and Freecharge, and prior to that, I was with Levers. That's where I know Sandeep from as well, and Anurag, of course, I know you for a while now. So yeah, that's my experience set. Today, I really want to talk about one of the issues that is far from solved, possibly one that is going to get worse and worse as we go through, and which will possibly over time change the face of marketing. It already has. And that is really about how do we get attention and build brands in an incredibly distracted age. Is this echoing a lot, by the way, or are you comfortable? Okay, super. So, and this is a problem we grapple with across, but where I think one place where we have the most headway in trying to solve for this problem is actually, or look at it as an opportunity for that matter, is actually a brand that is very interesting. So, given that I know that you, like the average Indian consumer, must be spending about 8 hours on social media plus on your phones, and everyone's attention span is a little, short, I have decided that I will use the topic of most interest to most people to try and get your attention for the duration of this presentation. However, the learnings I'm hoping are widely applicable, and it is something that you can replicate across. So I'm going to really talk about one of the most exciting brands in my portfolio that has now been growing at a 25 to 30% clip. It sells at 4x of the market average in a category that is actually incredibly low penetrated in this country, but has stalwarts from pharma companies, etc., that have been playing now. Consumer companies are also in the play. We retail at 4x of the average of the market, and we are now the #1 brand in the top 52 cities. Built recently, so it is a brand that has not had as much legacy or heritage as many of the other brands that I have the privilege of working on, or many of us have the privilege of working on, and it's truly been built a little bit more for the younger, Indian consumer, who will now be wider in their choices and, opening up to a much wider landscape. So that's really the thought. I've tried to distill our philosophy and thinking into 5 things that I think matter, but very happy to hear thoughts. I don't think the journey is anywhere near complete. Hopefully this will capture a little bit of our learnings here. But I think it starts from the fact that this topic is one that you would not think it is easy to have conversations on or to have advertising on. The minute we make a film, we start getting, the Google folks are here, my problem. Yeah, we start coming into category issues. You cannot advertise, you cannot kind of take it beyond a certain time, geos here, stars here, the constraints on this sort of a category. Secondly, anything that really touches this is culturally now no longer very open in our country. It's never been, right, for the last 100 odd years. And therefore, while we are the most populous country in the world, talking about sex continues to be a big issue, right? However, we believe that protection and passion goes together for the young consumer. And therefore, we actually went ahead and said that this is not just a protection base level pharma under this thing, chhatri de do, that kind of category. This needs to really get above and be a lifestyle category in itself. And therefore, we started by being super expensive and super premium. And we said, let this be a part of the flaunt of the younger consumer of this country, or the more aspiring consumer of this country. We decided not to build it the trade way. It is very difficult in categories that are competed in on trade, and anyone who knows the pharma sector knows that it is very much trade first as a sector, right? And therefore, we actually decided that we will not play that game, and we still don't. Thirdly, we said we will start with a limited portfolio, and everything that we ever innovate will always have a reason to exist, which is either scientifically important or better, etc. We will never do a proliferation of a strawberry chocolate, something. Yes, we have a range there, but that's very limited. Our entire game is on premiumizing experience, premiumizing science and technology behind our products, right? And we said that this is a hidden category, we will not be hidden. So with those choices to actually zag against the category's norms, we actually decided to be insightful, premium and well distributed, right? And as you can see, this is one of our biggest success stories, driving growth for the health portfolio for the last 3 years consistently. And we are hoping that now our dominance will hopefully grow across. Going forward, we have decided to follow these 5 guiding principles that I will talk to you about. What we've realized is that owning a consumer need is not about owning a category, right? And therefore, expanding that need beyond the basics of one category and saying that I can apply to multiple sub-segments that all stand for the same need is a big part of the flex of the digital world. So whether you're trying to build a brand in e-commerce or you're trying to build a brand offline, at the end of the day, today's phenomenally, multi-channel approach to the consumers, and the fact that I can sell a very different range on Reckitt, that I sell very differently on Amazon, that I will sell very differently on my D2C site, which will sell very differently on general trade and modern trade, is actually a massive flex, and we have not grown up with. So this is not about one solution. Therefore, the advantage there is that if you are building and spending in this cluttered world, and I'm coming back to lack of attention, it costs a lot more to get attention today. It costs a lot more to build a brand today. Therefore, if you're going to end up creating a brand in a cluttered world, how do you actually create one that can give you the maximum addressable market, right? And with that, what we did on Durex, and I'll just keep zigging and zagging, I hope, is that we actually said we are not just about condoms. We're actually a lifestyle brand. And we said if it is about having the #1 intimate lifestyle brand for the mindful explorer in this country, then should we not just do condoms, and should we also not do lubes that enhance the experience? Should we not do devices and playthings that bring a sense of play to the experience? Should we not do performance enhancement, which is, your Shilajits and Shatavaris, etc., but possibly the best quality stuff available in the market so that you are able to enhance. So we've actually gone from being a single category, single product sort of solve to become a multi-category lifestyle brand that can now amortize the money that we spend on building Durex as a brand across multiple categories and can use different channels to reach the consumer. So things play very differently here. Our condoms obviously go across general trade, modern trade, etc., but we sell a very different portfolio to the long tail stores versus what we do to the top stores, what we do on our D2C website, right? And the amount of premium we charge is actually quite different because we have different ranges that operate across. Similarly, lubes is largely a digital play, but we are slowly getting into top stores. If you look at playthings and devices, it is actually on our D2C website, which is now one of the larger ones and run profitably because we don't have that kind of leeway that we burn a lot of money to build a D2C site. So we actually have an active D2C site that is incredibly profitable. And we have now launched performance enhancement ranges as of 2 months ago, and they are selling across e-com, MT and D2C. So it gives me nuance and play, and that's a big advantage of today's fragmented trade situation. and as well as fragmented awareness situation, because I can actually build different needs for different audiences quite distinctly. Third is, how do we actually ensure that we ride mega trends, right? And if quick commerce is a mega trend that is happening in this country, that is changing behaviors, how do we ensure that we use every opportunity to open the doors of the consumer and build our penetration and build our regularity across categories? We are, by the way, doing it across our categories. Dettol sees 30% of its business on quick commerce come from categories that are unique to quick commerce. They are not present anywhere else, not even in modern retail. Similarly, for Durex, we have seen that quick commerce has been a huge opportunity. We have done things that have been able to get closer to the time of actual consideration, which is basically do nighttime stores, do lifetime discounts, etc., do advertising at the right moment so that you are closer and closer to when the consumer really feels the need, so that you can actually end up bringing it alive. And now we have started creating our own occasions. So for the last 3 months, we've been doing a 6 to 9 sale, right, which basically says 69% off on whatever 69 products on our site from 6th to 9th of every month, and that has actually created a spike that has doubled our D2C business in the last 2 months, and I'm hoping it continues. So we are starting to create our own occasions around that. I think, so the second is really, I think Sandeep was saying, that be in your consumer's shoes, understand when they most need you, understand micro moments, understand sub-segments, and understand what trends are anyway hitting them, right? For whatever it is, quick commerce is here to stay for now, right? And it is very, very large. So how do we actually leverage that to the extent possible? Third, deep insight matters and move the business. That is an age-old truth, and that is something that has been true of our category as well. Whenever we have decided to play a Me Too, strawberry flavored whatever, we have not won, right? Because there's no reason for you to charge a premium for it. But the minute we decide that we can play this differently and have a very different tone of voice and have a very deep insight, we actually win. So I'd love to show you some of the commercials. Actually just one that I would really like to show you. If someone can play the Come Together one, which is the second one. Can you play the second video? Yeah, this one, the first one here, 2019, mutual climax. Just audio it up, please. Let's start it again with audio in full. The audio is not working. Okay, I can, while you get the audio running, basically this goes on a very basic insight that there is a orgasm gap in the country. Women don't orgasm when most men do, right? And I think the surprising fact was not that there is a gap, but for most men, women end up faking it and men don't know, right? And that was a little bit of the insight on which we built the whole story of this. It's okay, you don't need to play it now. This entire story is using a metaphor of finishing food, right? The guy finishes really quickly. The woman is still toying over her meal. And you just say that, listen, it's important that when you start together, you finish together. And the product is therefore attuned to actually helping that happen, right? And if you go to the next, and the technology in it is such that it helps her come faster while he comes, right, at the same time. So it's called mutual climax. It was one of the things that really helped us deal in a very different space. And what we end up doing therefore is having, not just doing a film, but then having this conversation as provocatively as we can, but as respectfully as we can. If you go to the next page, please. It's okay, leave this, just go to the next one. Just get the audio running for the next set because that won't work without. Yeah, so which is really about how do we do a really proactive conversation that did you know that she's faking it for you, for example. Did you know that 80% of the women in this country don't do this? We do influencer conversations, then we do a very provocative launch, and the film is literally 20 to 30% of our budget. Everything else goes into sparring conversations, influencers, etc., right? And trying to get this more and more conversational. And this is a little bit about, I think, the attention deficit economy that we are, kind of existing in. That unless we are able to use the mediums that we have or the strength that they have, which is really that of a two-way conversation, we don't get attention. And therefore for us, we measure a lot of our success, not just on impressions and view-throughs, but also on likes to share ratio, cost per share, cost per comment, so we are basically always trying to provoke deeper conversations, especially on this brand that needs it. I think taking that insight forward, we have decided now that, sorry, I'm just going to go back to my tenets. When is it that I need to, sorry, I should put this more off. Okay, finally to the point that I was saying, conversations are important and community helps you build your brand, right? I think there are obviously OGs in the space like Apple, etc., who have huge communities that have powered them. Even Sandeep was here. Pidlite is a community-driven brand. Fevicol, at the end of the day, has been classic at driving their Champions Club, etc., right? However, today it is important to build these communities also digitally because we don't have the mind space and it is very expensive to go offline. And what we are doing now is something that we've just started about a month back to encourage this thoughtful conversation that we say. And one of the things that has helped us, one second, is actually this entire world of podcasting. So a month ago we launched this, the Durex podcast. Can we play this with the sound if possible?
You do it.
No, this one if you can stop and play again. It does need the sound. There's a problem. Okay, maybe read the subtitles and add the sass in your mind.
A little bit more to the left, please.
Okay. If you can play this again.
Talking about sex shouldn't be so hard. I mean, you do it, I do it, our guests do it.
She stops herself in the middle and she's like, this better not show up in your show.
So I hope this podcast gives you guys the tools to use your tools better. Welcome to the Durex podcast.
A little bit more to the left, please.
Please go to the next page and just play the videos.
Talking about sex shouldn't be so hard.
Just play the small ones, they're so short.
What does let's end good sex even mean to you?
If what you're doing is working, keep doing what you're doing. You were going like tick tick tack, tick tick tack, tick tick tack, and she's like, oh my god, that's amazing. Don't be like da 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 da. I'll take the handcuffs because many people tell me I'm going to get arrested anyway. So might as well have my wife do it instead of the authorities.
So we basically put content out there in the form of a podcast, which we intend to continue regularly. really podcasts are built over time is what all the experts tell us. But I think we've had a good start. We've seen some good results. And yeah, if you can actually, this is just the first episode, right? And we've now put the second one out there, so please follow us and tell us if you like the content. Would love to hear from you as much as possible in terms of whether it is good content or not. And what we are doing it is we are actually now cutting it, running it both for the equity of the brand, because what better than to stand for mindful and respectful yet exciting conversations in sex, right, for the mindful explorers of this country. And two, we are also using it for performance, and therefore buy handcuffs off our site, etc., is also stuff that we do, and that is happening from these assets as well, and doing quite well. So the hope is that we now go beyond just one-way advertising and get into content. By the way, we do this a lot in general. That's been our tone of voice, and therefore if you follow us on Instagram, you will see that we always have a slant and a take on things. So we've taken moment marketing as the thing to do, where we've looked at things that interest our audience, like sports, gaming, travel, pop culture, dating, etc., and decided that whenever the moment strikes, we will take a left of center really smart take on it, right? And whether it is whether it is when Diljit's concerts were happening, we actually just went a little bit and did a little bit of guerrilla marketing around that, which was Delivinati, etc., right, where we kind of positioned our products alongside, did a few cool posts, etc., that ended up getting some excitement going. Or it is our regular Instagram handle, which you can follow offline. We try to the content and the conversation on. It is obviously a very different skill to building a film, right? And therefore, what we do is 4-hour turnaround. We mine key trends, we map brand fitment, we create various forms of content, and then we quickly track sentiment, nature of conversation, follow-up growth, and make sure that we are always keeping it cool yet keeping it interesting. So the handle is Precious Real Estate, and you will normally, hopefully, not see us do anything that is tacky or underwhelming or something. We'd rather stay off than do that, but whenever we do something, it's normally interesting, and we do end up posting 2-3 times a week. I think we measure ferociously. I think we can do even better, we can do even faster, but today we measure engagement, quality, sentiment, search trends, and follower growth consistently, and we keep doing shares to likes and likes to comment ratios and tracking it in ourselves. This was something that I think the team put together to teach an old frog like me how we do this, and therefore they said, think of a house party, and social media is a house party, right? You need to be able to attract people to your party to begin with. People don't come because you compel them, right? So figure out where the coolest parties are happening, visit these places, find out what's been brewing, trigger conversations that resonate with the cool guys, be regular at these house parties, and start getting invited. And therefore, that's really, which platforms should you go to, what audiences are listening, and content buckets. How do we have a intelligent and witty point of view? How are we consistent with what we say? And ultimately, how do we start getting invited and DMs and mentions and all of that? So this was really, I think, a dummy's guide to how to do this that the team put together for me, and I really liked it. So I'm just putting it out there because this was the simplest way that I think it could be described in terms of how do you get your content game right. Super. I think that's all I had. Sorry, I think I overran as well. I don't know if there are any questions. I'm happy to take them offline if you don't have the time.